So I believe that I just dropped him. I believe so. But Micah, you're still there? Micah? Micah? Hello? Hello?
Hey, what's up, man?
All right. That's the problem with in-station, equipment. Gets funky.
For sure, dude.
I dropped you on accident, and then I realized it, and you weren't actually dropped here. You were just I had turned it off. But anyway, but now you're back, and we don't have to worry about anything. But actually, we were talking about kicking people in the face. And the next question was actually about pet peeves. So what makes you want to kick people in the face?
Dude, honestly, my number one pet peeve is people driving slow in front of me. Dude, it drives me crazy. Like, I don't know, there's different levels of it. So, like, for example, if somebody's, if it's a Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, somebody's going out on their casual Sunday drive, they got the top down, and they see me coming up behind them, and they like pull over to the side a little bit, and hey, I can pass them. I respect that person, absolutely. But the person that's going 10 miles below the speed limit, drives hard over, rides the line on the left side, and just circumstance, there's hills, and I don't know if I can pass, or there's a solid line. Dude, it drives me. It affects me more than it should. But just being honest, it drives me absolutely crazy. Probably more than anything in this world. But
so you are listening to WGDR Plainfield, WGDH Hardwick, Goddard College Community Radio, 91.1 FM and 91.7 FM. You can also find us online at WGDR.org and Facebook. It is now 2 o'clock and 45 seconds exactly. Now it's 48, 49, 50, but you are listening to Agony and Ecstasy. I'm your host, Malachi, and here this afternoon, I have brought in This Divided World for an interview. They are a phenomenal, really hardcore band, and I had Micah and Mark both here calling in, and we were just talking back and forth about their band, but then Mark had to leave, but I'm still here with Micah, and I'm going to be talking with him until 3 o'clock or whenever I run out of questions. But you are listening to WGDR Plainfield, WGDH Hardwick, and I guess my next question for you would be, how much does music affect you?
That's a great question. I think it was a lot more important to me, probably. It's not that it's not important to me now. I mean, dude, I love listening to it, and it's changed over my life. But when I was 15, 16, when it got to the point, I'm the last of 4 kids, and when everyone had moved out, and I was at that stage in my life very self-involved. Get home from school, close my door, hang out by myself. Not at any fault. Now I have a great relationship with my parents. I love both of them. But at that point in my life, it was me. And so, when I would go in and just listen to music all the time, it's progressed over time, but one of the bands that's always been consistent in my life has been Dashboard Confessional. Just the first, I don't even know if you can call that a band. It started as one dude, just an acoustic guitar and him. But it transcends what we can somehow. Saying "I love you" with playing a G chord in the background is way more powerful than just saying "I love you" to somebody. So it's like it's the language of emotions. It's really beyond. Sometimes it's beyond what we can put together with words and sentences and all that stuff. It can be so powerful, and now that my life is a 180, totally different than it was, a few years ago. And, I play guitar at my church, but we have two, on Sunday mornings, we do two church services. There's an 8:30 and 10 o'clock. So I usually play guitar for the 8:30, and then at the 10 a.m. I go out and I sit in the audience, because I got to a point where I was so focused on making music and being involved with producing that sound that I forgot to be a part of it. And so, music, I feel like you can sing a song and not be worshiping God, but for me, I love to be able to sing a song and have the words that come out of my mouth be connected with what my heart is saying. I believe that's worship, and so music means a lot for sure. But I think this is in quotes, I needed it more when I was younger. I still love it, but I don't feel like it's as much as of a crutch for me. It's like it's just a bonus now. I really love it.
What does
music mean to you?
Me?
Yeah.
That's a really heavy and personal and yet business oriented, but it's kind of a really all-encompassing question.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
yeah, I just answered it. You can answer it. I'm just kidding, man.
For the people who really know me, I kind of just, yeah, it's something that I think it's easier to. Wow.
Yeah.
Now you've stumped me. Like, I was the one asking all the questions, but now you've like.
Well, I was curious, just because, dude, you're the host of a show that's all about music. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was just curious what your thought is, because you're more eclectic, I think, than I am. I'm more like focused, and so I'm just curious.
Darn. Okay. I'll start with my pet peeve because it has a really big it has a really big impact on my my relationship with music as well. But it's when teenagers or anybody says music is my life.
Word.
Like, when people say that, like when I see someone who writes it on their notebook and they're walking through the hall and I see it on their notebook, music is my life, but they don't have an earbud in, or they say the music is their life, but yet they've never been to a concert, and maybe like I've only been to a couple like really good concerts, and I've only been to a couple concerts in my life, but like it's when people like make these really big like exaggerations about their musical, like their relationship with music.
Yeah.
When if only they knew. Like,
for sure.
I mean, I'm definitely not gonna like just tell them. I'm not gonna be like, I have a more intimate relationship with music than you. But I also never admit to it. I never admit to. I don't believe that I've ever actually said music is my life. I mean, unless it's been quoted, like now, like I'm quoting it as if
Sure.
I was some teenage girl. But like,
Sure.
there are those people that are just like, music all the time. I mean, it gets me and things like. I don't get into it because. And I don't broadcast it because I think that to respect the music more, you're not going to try and prove the fact that you have an intimate connection with it.
I think the kind of person that would say music is my life is the person that wouldn't actually have music be their life, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, because they're trying to like it's I don't know. It's just it's very it is just a really big pet peeve of mine. Is just like saying that and just having nothing to show for it. Like not really having any really like extensive knowledge, not really even being part of any scene or anything. Me, I've been a radio host since I was 11. And I mean, when I was young, I mean, my parents are pretty young, so I always had them coming to me with this really great music. Like my mom, she introduced me to like 9 Inch Nails and Nirvana, and
dang.
yeah, I'm like, it isn't like Elvis Presley or anything. They weren't introducing me to that. I mean, they lately, now that I'm getting more into like hardcore music, they're like, well, get into the roots of metal, like listen to some like older metal and things. But I mean, my mom, she's pretty young, and she introduced me to a lot of like the Butthole Surfers. I'm like, that is such a young band. Like that's so 90s. Like that's ridiculously 90s. The Toadies, that's also really 90s. But just a lot of like I picked up on a lot of it from my parents. And so my favorite song of all time, Where's My Mind by the Pixies. It's always been my favorite song. But it's just I have a really intimate relationship with music, but I don't broadcast it the same way that most people do, because I feel like if I'm gonna have more, like when you're married, you're not just like you don't just like, that's not the first thing you say when you meet someone. This is my wife, like but like in yeah, this is my wife, but you're not just like that. You're not going to discuss your marriage with that person. Like that isn't your first topic. It's like, how's the weather, etc. But like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, well, two things. One, I thought when you were going to say what your pet peeves were, I thought you were going to say when people come on your show and ask you questions.
Oh no. Yeah. Actually it's really fun. I had this one caller one time who was this older woman who came in, and she said that I actually told this story last week too, but she called in and she was like, I have a son who tried doing hardcore vocals and he killed his voice, and he's had a miserable like life ever since. Yeah. And she was harshing on my show because I was playing Suicide Season by Bring Me the Horizon. Really hardcore. Like he killed his voice too. Yeah. But that's some really, like, that's some intense stuff. And she got on and she called me and was like, yeah, I don't like your show. I really don't like your show. You're promoting this. You're promoting this vocal style that's not healthy for your voice. And I'm afraid that it's going to hurt teenagers. And I was like, well, it's a vocal style that some people have messed up on, and they've killed their voice, but it's actually not a bad vocal style. It's fine.
Yeah, for sure.
But I actually really enjoy. I had the station manager here interview me one time, just asking me about when I first started my show. He was asking me a lot of questions about. He doesn't know anything about electronic music, so he was asking, like, I was playing the Glitch Mob, and he's like, is glitch music a genre? And I was like, yeah. But I mean, that's not exactly why they're called the Glitch Mob, is because they're glitch music. It's just their name. But yeah, it's just I don't mind questions, but no, definitely my pet peeve is when people are like, music is my life. Like, oh.
Dude, when you said that, it made me think of back in the MySpace days when everyone would get those little GIFs, those little little pictures, and they would line them up in the side thing, and like every girl that I knew had one that said "music is my life." So that's funny, man. It made me think of that.
It was wicked. And then Tumblr, they have Tumblr now, which does the same thing. They have all the GIFs and stuff. Music is my life everywhere. It's just like, oh my goodness. And I think, yeah, it's just music is something it's kind of everywhere, no matter what it is. there's always this beat that you're going to hear somewhere in the world. Even if you're in a room that's completely silent, your heart is still beating. That's still a beat.
For sure.
That's still music. Just sound, it's everywhere. Like, music is just the organization of things. It's the organization of notes. But it's everywhere. And I would not be the person that I am today without music. I wouldn't believe what I believe without music. I wouldn't be able to express what I express without music. And I'm pretty much drowning in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just get overwhelmed, and I literally feel like my lungs are filling up with musical notes. But yeah. So, what are your biggest obstacles?
Obstacles as a band, I take it. Obstacles as a band. The question.
Either as a band or you personally, but specifically, like, just musically. What are your musical obstacles?
Sure. Well, I guess I'll start with something that's not an obstacle. There was a point in my life where I thought, well, I'm out of riffs, man. Like, I don't know when I'm going to have to wait a few months and just keep trying to play stuff so I can write another song, that next tasty jam or whatever. And I've reached a point in my life where I know I'm never going to run. Like, yeah, I might need to play for a few hours till I get something, but I'm never going to have a lack of songs or a lack of riffs or that kind of stuff. Musical inspiration as far as guitar is. So, I guess that's the opposite of the question. But as far as obstacles, a few things come to mind. For us, we don't have I always say it to Mark, the only place we actually exist, I mean, we're real, we exist in reality, we're physical human beings, but Mark and I live like 70, 75 miles apart. So, I mean, our conversations are over the phone, over Skype. I mean, every once in a while we get to hang out in person. But, so that, I mean, if we are the band, then, that's a very fine line. We connect only here and there. And so, pretty much, if we didn't exist on the internet, we wouldn't exist at all. I mean, we have friends, and both of us have friends that support our band and listen to us and stuff like that, but, it's just the two of us. We're a studio band at this point. We toy with the idea of touring and playing festivals and stuff like that, but at this stage in the band, we're not going to, and that's not a part of us.
Well,
so,
have you guys considered hiring on some other musicians to help out with the space that you guys need to fill?
Yeah, well, we've talked about it for sure. I think I was just saying this to somebody yesterday. If I wanted, if we wanted to book shows, we've had people that have approached us to book shows, and people that have approached us to join the band. A few things have kept us from that. For one, I always wanted, like, I don't know how to say it other than, like, I've always been rushed for my music. Start a band and then book a show before your set is written, or like all this stuff. And with this band, we never rushed anything. Like the album, the music, that was the first thing. And so there was no like time constraints, anything like that. So now as we're getting a little bit more popular, stuff like that, people are coming up to us, hey, blah, 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 you need a guitarist, you need a bassist. And we have people lined up that would be willing to play for us, but we don't really want to just be another local band. The way we look at ourselves, and it's not in a prideful way, or it's not in a way where we like lift ourselves up. If you're in a band that plays local shows, that's good. That's cool, but for us, we don't think that's the best way to progress our career. Mm-hmm. But having said that, we don't have as much of that presence in our local scene. Yeah, mm-hmm. I go to shows and I go and hand out stickers, and I meet with bands and I try and support the scene, but I'm not out there like years ago when I was in one of my metal bands. we were at every show. We knew the promoters. We knew, all the local bands and stuff like that. And so we had you walk in the room and there's a physical presence to you. We don't have that anymore. We just kind of exist on the internet and on YouTube and stuff like that, which, it's good and it's bad. But, another thing that's hard for us is the distance. Like I said, Mark works, I work. We're both, crazy busy. We got a full life. And then on top of that, we have this band, which is something that's important to us. But, I'm not going to show up late to work because I was doing something for the band, This comes after everything. So it's tough living that far apart, trying to not just be bandmates, but be friends beyond that. And also, brothers in Christ, to be Christians that can, help one another with different things going on in our lives. So it's difficult, and we want to be in a better place in the future where it's we can just call each other up and be like, hey, how was your day, man? Oh, blah, blah, and not mention anything about the band, but it's our contact is so limited at this point that whenever we're talking, we're like, hey, man, did you get that $50, or are we gonna do this interview and blah, blah, all that kind of stuff. So those have been some trials, I would say, but we've been working through them.